This last part covers everything else that happened after the peace treaty in the realm. It has been a long time since the realm, so some of this stuff might be a little out of order. We'll start with the peace treaty then. So one interesting thing to note about it is that people who weren't there didn't sign it. Not that that made much of a difference to what happened after anyways. So we made the peace treaty and everything was calm. One day when logging on to check the village, the beacon had been replaced by netherite blocks. And before that it was iron, probably, or gold. And nobody thought much about it at the time. One of the little adventures that we went on was Boy Toy and I going on an adventure to the end city to find an elytra. We were looking for a long time, and I think that's because Zupz had already been there. Boy Toy died at one point in there, and I had to be pretty careful to get everything back, and he was urging me to hurry up and get everything back, not to die and all that. So yeah, I did that, and we were good. We got the elytra and all that. So previously, I was focusing all of my time on revenge against P-Man, who burned me in lava at the start of the realm. And with that being over, everyone was rebuilding and stuff, expanding the village and going out on their little adventures like I just said. And I did a bit of that myself, but with the revenge against P-Man over, I had more time not focused on one thing. For some reason, Sheba and I went to an underwater city to drain it, and we did that one sponge at a time. I think it was my idea. Maybe I thought it would look cool. Maybe I'd put it in a glass dome or something. I'm not sure, but I fully drained it, I'm pretty sure, but I don't think we ever ended up doing too much more with it. Now, on to the main stuff. I went back to the village after that underwater city thing, and I was probably just chilling for a while. Zupz asked me about the Ender Egg and if he could borrow it sometime, which I said no because that was kind of odd. One time in Zupz's base, he became visible in front of me. He was in front of his nether portal, and he had been wearing an invisible skin. I didn't know that at the time though, and it seemed like he teleported. And at some other point, I was checking out his base, and I was looking for some sort of hidden teleportation machine or something. I was looking this stuff up on YouTube. I was like, did he teleport? Does he have some kind of crazy machine under his base or something? So I was just checking out his base, man, digging stuff up. In my search, I found a small duplication machine, and that made me more sus of Zupz. Boy Toy told me one day that Zupz had been repeatedly leaving and rejoining the world that morning. When Zupz was asked about it, he said his internet was bugging out. I had suspicion that Zupz was duplicating with how generous he had been recently, and the beacon being netherite blocks, it didn't seem like there would be any way for him to get that much netherite with the seemingly little amount of time he had been on the world. Another thing that made me suspect Zupz was a sign that he put up asking for one enchanted golden apple. If he was duplicating, he would only need one. And as he said in the sign, he was willing to trade anything for that one. He made some kind of Celt machine as well before for XP, and I knew from previous worlds that he had interest in duplication. One day there was a sign in his base saying that he was planning on moving far away, and that didn't sound good. Why would he need to move so far away? Who knows what kind of crazy duplication operation he could have going on, and nobody would even know where. I went out thousands of blocks with an elytra, trying to find any sign that Zupz had been anywhere, thousands of blocks out in different directions. I kept an eye on the map, if he was online, to try to figure out where his base might be. I was cooking up a punishment for Zupz's duplication. I had ideas of doing something similar to what I did to P-Man, building a bunch of stuff and making some kind of crazy event that would end in his death, obviously. I worked on a few projects, realizing it would take too long gathering the materials myself. I had to change the plan because it would take forever building what I wanted to build with little help. I decided that I was going to build a jail where Zupz could rot his days away, and he'd only be able to see outside of a small jail window. And that's what I did. It was time. Zupz's punishment was ready. I was sure with all that I had seen previously that he was duplicating, and possibly up to something else. I made a copy of the world and set it as the main. We had Zupz get online to get someone some material. I had cheats on in this duplicate world. I was invisible, and I kept teleporting to him to figure out where his base was and what kind of operation he had. He was soaring out with this elytra. His base was somewhere very unexpected, somewhere right there, but none of us would have any reason to look there. His base was in the end. Zupz's duplication machine was there. Zupz went AFK and I started opening his chests. They were full of loot. He heard the chests opening and started asking questions. Of course, we said we didn't know what was going on. I teleported to Goglu in case Zupz checked a map. I said I wanted to show Zupz a new contraption I had on a copy of the world. We got on the world and I told Zupz to come over. I told Zupz to jump off of something so he could respawn at the village, and he asked if I could just teleport him so he wouldn't lose his stuff, but I told him that it was a copy so it wouldn't really matter. And he jumped off of something high, losing all his stuff and respawning at the village. Like I said, this is the real world, not the copy, so he lost all of his stuff. Then I told him to come into the cell and press a lever in the back. I put him on visitor and put the cell bars in, and he was jailed. I asked him why he thought he was in jail, and he acted like he didn't know. Deny, deny, deny. That's what he did. But it was obvious that we knew what was going on, so he said he did it to make things go faster and so that he could give us stuff. I said that duplicating to skip the grind makes everything seem kind of pointless. I asked Zupz about a guy that he invited to the realm recently, before that, Ninja, why he invited him to the realm. What interested him? Was it to help Zupz duplicate? And he said that was part of the reason. I asked why he only seemed to be online for short amounts of time when nobody else was online. I thought it was because maybe he'd get on to duplicate in the mornings when no one else was on. He said that it wasn't something he did purposely, it's just how it was. He said he'd get on sometimes, check the world and see what people did, and they just happened to not be online at the time. I asked what he thought should happen to him. What do you think should happen to you, Zupz? What do you think should happen? And he said nothing. Nothing should happen to him. He said he wouldn't duplicate anymore if he were to get released. I was thinking that maybe I'd give him another chance eventually, but for now, yeah, not right now. I asked him what he wanted outside of his cell so he'd have something to look at least. He said he wanted a clock, so we gave him that up in a frame, and we also gave him a painting. A painting that he is probably not going to want to see again because he'll associate it with being imprisoned. And a day or two later, he somehow got off of visitor. And, this could have been his chance. We could have got on and seen that he was just chilling, man. What he was saying was true. He just wanted to chill out, and we'd let him go. But no, that's not what happened. And he got his revenge. That's what he wanted. So he spawned a bunch of withers. Of course, I would set back the realm, though. I would change it back to before that happened. And that was pretty much the last big thing that happened in the realm. So in the end, with everyone, what happened to them, it's probably already what you pretty much know, but Zupz in jail. J-Makes, he never finished digging his hole that he had to dig. P-Man started rebuilding Diddy City. Sheba had plans to build things up and to get a maze, so pretty much just plans for him. Boy Toy Goglu and Mrs. Makes didn't do too much towards the end, as far as I know. Savage God, he didn't really get on the realm much since the first week. Ninja, he got kicked from the realm after Zupz's jailing, imprisonment. Goglu, he had a friend named Icefault that was invited, and they never got on the realm. And that's pretty much everything that happened to everyone, and that's it for now.